It's been a few years since I released anything about toxic masculinity and patriarchy on this channel. Back then I released a couple of videos which became by far the most popular things on my channel. It made me realise there's still an awful lot of interest in this, and when I received huge amounts of positive feedback and many women reaching out to me to say thank you for speaking about the subject as a man, I realised that I wanted to go deeper and speak about this in more depth. So in 2024 I released Red Flags. 10 types of toxic men, how to stop dating them, and how to stop being one. Despite the bombastic title, it's actually a positive, hopeful, motivational book. I've written it for both women and men. For women, it's about staying safe and being able to understand what's going on in men. For men, it's about understanding what's going on in yourself and the men around you and how to heal. Whether you're a man or a woman, I hope you'll get a huge amount out of this book. So in today's video, I just want to talk about what I've written, what's in it, and what it can do for you. I hope that it's a book that helps everybody to find happier, more fulfilling, safer relationships. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. My name is Alexander. I'm a master life coach based in the UK, and this will be my third video about patriarchy and toxic masculinity. In the first one, I talked about the underlying psychology and beliefs that allow this ridiculous mindset to exist and that facilitate and encourage and normalize bad behavior in men. Then in the second video, I just tried to explain that by making a spectrum of the ways in which toxic behavior and patriarchy shows up in men, just to further explain how this actually shows up in the world. I wanted to dive deeper into this because I see this all the time in my coaching work. Women will consistently report whether they are dating or they're in a relationship or they're just interacting with people at work or online. They'll report very consistent behavior and language which is deeply hostile, unhelpful, makes them feel unsafe, or simply makes them feel unheard or unable to find consistency from the men in their lives. Men will report that they are finding their relationships to be unsatisfying, that they're not finding the kind of joy and connection that they're looking for. And they will tend to blame women or maybe just something nebulous about themselves, rather than understanding that they've been programmed to behave in a certain way by a belief structure that just saturates our culture. And so I wanted to create something that would really dive deep into this, unpack further the beliefs and the underlying psychology, and then really lay out to men what this costs you and then what healing might look like. For women, I wanted to make it really clear where this weird behavior in men comes from, what red flags to watch out for so that you stay safe in relationships and in love, and to understand what in you also needs to be healed so that you stop finding toxic men attractive. So that's what I've done. Let's dive into the book. So looking at the contents of the book, I'm just going to run you through the chapters and just pick out a few chapters that really jump out. Here at the beginning, I talk about hope. This isn't a book which is man-bashing or anti-men. This is a book about liberation, about freedom, about authentic expression. And it's really written in the hope that this book will help people to build happier relationships. There's nothing wrong with men, but an awful lot of men and women have had a toxic and hostile belief structure implanted into them at a young age, and it really limits their freedom and their happiness and their ability to express themselves. So this is a book about hope of happier, more fulfilling relationships. A little later, I challenge men and I ask, what do you really want? Patriarchy stops men being able to ask for help. And so a lot of men are resistant to therapy or reflection or inquiring too deeply into the way that they are and why they might be that way and any other way that they might be instead. So I ask men, what outcome do you want from your life? Do you want happy, fulfilling relationships? Do you want to understand why women get so upset with you? Do you want to know why you find it so hard to understand what you're feeling and why? Do you want to raise sons who are respectful towards women? And do you want to raise daughters who feel safe in the world? So I ask men, what do you want? What outcome do you want from your life and from your behaviour? And if you want good things for yourself, you're going to need to do some of this inquiry. So it's an invitation to men to really engage with this material. So we then open the book proper. In part 1, we're looking at the problem. This is where I dive deep into patriarchy and toxic masculinity and what it is, where it comes from, and the core effect that it has on men. And I refer throughout the book to the idea of wounded men. This isn't blaming, and this isn't turning all men to being victims, but a man who is brought up in an ideology and a mindset which curtails his freedom, which stops him being able to understand or express himself well, who finds it difficult to build meaningful connections with others. I know these are all common effects of patriarchy. All of that eventually has a wounding effect, and what we're seeing in the behaviour that toxic men bring is wounded behaviour. So we are talking about something that wounds people, and then something that needs to be healed. And so, in part 2 of the book, I come on to hope and healing. What does healing look like in men? What do men need to do? What do they need to engage in? Which specific processes and techniques can they use in order to heal? Also, in this section, I address the major objections that men tend to have to engaging in any kind of healing work. Because again, patriarchy straitjackets men, and it stops them being able to find authentic self-expression. That includes asking for help and engaging in healing. So I address a lot of the objections that patriarchy tends to offer to men that says, oh, I don't need therapy, I don't need to read those books, I don't need to inquire into these things about myself. I also here talk about healing in women because an awful lot of women have internalized patriarchy. They will have standards for themselves and for the women around them which aren't kind, which aren't based in things that they truly value as an individual. They're based on a received idea about how women should be in the world and whether they're living up to that or not, which is patriarchy. So women do often need to do healing work as well. So I talk about that here. I also talk in this section about if a woman were to stop finding these kinds of toxic men attractive, what healing would that require? I talk about green flags because by this point I've been talking about red flags for a long time, and I've been talking about all this toxic behaviour and these bad beliefs, so it can be easy to think that there's no hope at all. Green flags is just a list of things that we should be looking out for that might indicate that a man has done the healing work and that he isn't enthralled to patriarchy anymore. And then in part 3 of the book I go into these 10 types of toxic men and the specific red flags that exist for each. I'll talk about that more in a second. But also in this part of the book you'll see how to stop being attracted to toxic men. And again, this returns to advice for women in if you find yourself being regularly attracted to men who end up hurting you or end up expressing very unhelpful or toxic behaviour, then how do you stop being attracted to them in the first place? Finally, I recommend some books. Some of these are about patriarchy or feminism directly, and a lot of them are just about core personal development to be able to work on yourself, heal yourself, understand yourself more deeply, and no longer fall victim to these kinds of problems. Looking at the 10 types of toxic men themselves, these are the names that I've given them: misogynist, user, time bomb, stone, butterfly, pornosexual, poser, lost boy, saviour, and sleepwalker. And then for each type I begin with a description about what I mean by that term, and I think as you read these you'll find them very familiar. I talk about the red flags that will indicate to you that this man is one of these types of toxic men. I talk about the underlying psychology so that everyone can understand why someone would behave like this. I talk about why these types of men are dangerous, what would heal these types of men, and then finally, why are women attracted to this particular type of toxic men? So that's an overview about the contents of Red Flags. I'm deeply proud of this book, and I hope that it helps many individuals and couples to find happier relationships. The book is available around the world, so if this has intrigued you, go and pick up a copy, go onto Amazon, search for Red Flags, Alexander Butler, and you'll be able to buy it in whatever your local Amazon store is. I hope you get a great deal out of this book, and I really look forward to hearing your feedback. Until next time, take care.